Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gills, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Here I am. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the morning grind. Welcome to the office. How are you? I hope you are having an absolutely incredible day. I am. Yesterday, I was actually trying to run 2 errands yesterday before dinner, although I didn't actually get either of those errands accomplished for different reasons as I was out and running around. However, I did have a dinner meeting last night, and that went absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Talked about Rabivania, actually, and the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter and things like that. That was on the topic of conversation. Had a fantastic and very productive and very energizing dinner last night. Came back, got up this morning, was up at, I believe, 4, got work done. So I've been up working this morning on the Tales of Rabivania World Primer. Then I went back and took a small nap before the morning grind begins. Bye, phasic sleep again. Bye, phasic sleep. How are you doing? Today on Tuesday, like we had said, we'll do some rules design. Except for I realized that actually at this moment, like before I was going live here, I was like, well, first of all, I was like, what type of RPG should we look at? And I was looking around and I was going, what type of RPG should I look at? And I really wasn't feeling a good vibe on any one of them for this morning with this morning's feeling. And then I went, oh, yeah, we're supposed to be doing RPG design. But then I was like, oh, no, wait a minute. But I'm sitting here working on the Tales of Rabivania World Primer, and I am almost done. I started at the beginning and I've been working on one more pass through the book before I send it over to layout and start working on layout. So it's very close to done, except for the chapter on NPCs, because we did a great job when we were looking through NPC or looking through stat design the other day. And so the last thing that's going to take a little bit more time is looking at all of the NPC stats. And I want to look at those again. So I thought that's the perfect kind of thing to be able to do online. So it's not Wednesday, it's not World Building Wednesday, but this is RPG design because we're looking at the actual building out of some of the stats. So it was a fantastic conversation. Last time we looked at the 5e character classes, people came up with great suggestions and comments and things like that. So the same kind of thing will be going on here. So we're going to do that. Let's see. So who all is here? Sable Phoenix says that picture looks like the Tales of Rabivania. Well, yes, but since the rats and the mice are part of the NPCs, the NPC stat block or NPC chapter, I decided that I'd go ahead and put some rat in there. So, good morning, Andrew. And so, yes, Mike says, good morning, Grinders. Looks like we'll get to meet some of the other characters outside of the rabbits today. Zero the Blade says, good morning, everyone. I hope I have enough coffee to stay awake for this. Me too. Of course, I've got Coke Zero at the moment. Good morning, Brett. They should make a reboot of the cartoon, The Rats of Nim. Oh, we got to breathe and sip. You're right. Let's do that right now. Let's do that right now, Mike. Everybody got your drink with you? Let's do the mental health portion of the show. 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, complete exhales, and take a sip of your favorite beverage. So let's go. And sip. There we go. There we go. Tomocrat is here. Good morning, Stray. And Tomocrat says, just got my shipping notice for the Hero Quest. Should be here by Tuesday. Good morning, Draco. Sable Phoenix says, the Nim books were great. The Don Bluth movie was weird. I guess I don't know the books. I have seen the movie, but it's been a while. I need to watch it again. It was on my list to watch again because I know I watched it because early on, some people were like, when I see Rabivania, I see something like the Rats of Nim. And it's not exactly right, but there are some things that I would do that are similar as far as like animation style and stuff like that. So I need to watch it again. Stray put the Discord link down here. Thank you so much. I didn't know there were books either. I just thought there was the movie. So let's see here. Hey, PH and Neutromancer. Good day. Good day. So if you are, I'm going to be diving into concluding the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter very soon. So the link to the Goodnight Sword Kickstarter, I will go ahead and put this down here again in case you are finding this, because you're looking at rabbits and you're looking at Rabivania. So Goodnight Sword, this is the first book that is published in one of the worlds that we're creating here. So this is the Goodnight Sword, a world of gallantry, chivalry, and rabbits based on the classic story Goodnight Sword, obviously based for the youngest audience of all the stories, and then we'll be growing from here. If you need a late pledge, if you missed this and you need a late pledge, if you click that link and hit the request late pledge, there'll be a form to go and put in a request for a late pledge. I'm going to send out invoices to late pledges. Actually, probably as early as this week. I'm going to go ahead and send out the survey to the backers later this week as well. It could be sooner rather than later, because I believe it could be the case. I need to check this, that probably if somebody had a card error or anything like that, that for some reason the card didn't run, they need to swap it out or something. That happens on Kickstarter quite often. Kickstarter probably sent out the notices for all of that. So it's probably confirmed the backer list by now. As soon as the backer list is confirmed, I will send out the surveys, and then and the surveys will let me get your address, basically. So I need everybody's address. So I'll send out the surveys, and then we will fulfill Goodnight Sword, and then we will keep moving on. So that is there. So if you did miss it, when I send out the surveys, I will also send out invoices to anybody who needs a late pledge. Thank you so much for being with me. Okay. Let me take that down. Like I was saying, so let's do some stat work today, but also take a look at, yes, some of the other species, because I am now on my last final edit of this book, basically copy yetiing the start of it for the final time, and then I'm moving to layout, and then we'll see how bad I've blown my word count or page count. We will see. The only thing that needs new attention, because I've been over it a couple times, but a little bit more attention, is the bestiary, where I've got NPCs. So let me bring that up. So we're getting close. I'm very excited about having this get to this point as well, so we can keep the energy up. Keep the energy up of doing things, creating things, making things. So let's do that. Here we go. So yes, so for lots of people won't know any, won't be familiar with anything but the rabbits at the moment. So we're about to talk about more than the rabbits and what their 5E stats will be, and if it makes sense. And let me read this out loud so that I can catch anything as I'm reading out loud here for these as well. So chapter 5 back here will be a bestiary, which will give you some stats for the NPCs to have people, so that people can fight them or interact with them in other ways during a game. So chapter 5, bestiary. Rabbits are not the only species in Rabivania. Mice, squirrels, rats, weasels, and more can serve as allies or foes to rabbit adventurers. This chapter provides sample characters with which GMs can populate the world. And in a full world book, I would have some of these be playable characters. But remember, all I'm trying to make is basically something like this for the world book right now. So the first one is fox. Foxes serve as the primary mount for the rabbits, especially the Rabivanian knights, who sit astride powerful war foxes. While foxes are reasonably intelligent, they have never learned to speak. Moreover, it appears the foxes are the only one of the rabbits' natural predators. Of the rabbits, so I think this should actually be like that. The only, well, what about the only? No, I guess that's right. The only of the rabbit's natural predators that they have been able to come to permanent peaceable terms with. According to myth, this happened when Krieg, son of Clovis, and his warriors chose to defend newly born fox cubs against their attackers. The cubs turned out to be princes and princesses. They were so grateful that they formed an alliance with rabbit kind. Any albino foxes born in Rabivania are reserved for the use of the mages of the mist and the damsels of the royal blood. Adult male foxes are called Reynards. Adult female foxes are called vixens. Fox children are called clubs and kits. And that's going to be a really great visual at some point, when you've got the mages of the mist or one of the damsels of the royal blood astride an albino fox. That's going to be a really cool image. That should be iconic in Rabivania. So I was trying to come up with good stats for a fox for a rabbit to ride. And of course, it's got to be like their horse. So I think the stats need to be more horse-like. But I was also looking, influenced by this Mastiff here. I found a Mastiff on D&D Beyond to also try to use in some regards. It's like the hit points need to be more horse-like. So I believe this is more horse-like hit points. And then I've got, I want to take a look careful at all the stats right here. So I said, fox, this is a large beast. Because remember, we're just scaling around with the different sizes. So if a rabbit is medium, the fox would take up on your grid. The fox would take up 2 squares, so it would be considered large. Armor class 12, hit points 13, 2d8 plus 4. Now let's see. When you're designing things like this, you get into the weird 5th edition stuff fast. 5e Warhorse stats. Let me make sure that was. How many? That seems really low. Like, how many hit points should a warhorse have? The Roll20 Warhorse has 19 hit points. That sounds better. That still sounds really small. If you're talking about fighters with a whole bunch more hit points, this gets right back into the hit point debate. Okay, this says 19. Let's go ahead and say that. The fox is more dexterous than a horse. But let's say 19 hit points. That still feels small. No expert, but I thought baby foxes were called kits. What did I say here? I have both. Yeah, fox children are called cubs or kits. So I must have found someplace that somebody was calling them cubs. I thought I've heard of fox cubs. I think I've heard of fox cubs. Neutromaster says, reminds me a bit of Secrets of Cats. I don't know that one. Okay, so speed 60 feet. So strength, I've got +3. Dex, now they should be greater in dex than they are in strength. Let's reverse those. That should send their hit points, their armor class to 13. +3 dex for their armor class. Constitution. Why is their constitution so small? Let's move constitution to 10. Now, intelligence is interesting here. So I think I use the mastiff here because they don't speak, but I want them to be able to understand things. And in fact, I could go into more detail, but like some of the albino foxes, I want the albino fox to be more like an elven horse. So what you'd expect like an elven horse to be in Middle Earth. So they kind of understand things. Like when, even in, let's say the movie one, when, or even Glorfindel's horse in the Fellowship of the Ring. So I want them to understand things. And from a visual perspective, if it were animated, I would want you to have a lot of expressiveness in the foxes' faces so that it's clear that they're listening and understand what's going on. And you could tell one, you've got to get this person out of here or something like that, like Glorfindel did with Frodo when escaping the Nazgul. I think you could be able to do something like that. But they don't speak, so they're kind of more like trained dogs. So I gave it the intelligence. So this one, they have kind of the intelligence of a mastiff. So they don't have human intelligence, but I believe the mastiff had intelligence of, it might have been 3, so I might have bumped it up slightly. That way they are as intelligent as like dogs are. You could also use dolphin int for the foxes. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what the dolphin intelligence is. Let me look up a 5e dolphin stats. Are there 5e dolphin stats? Because that could be a good analogy. That really appropriate analog. 5e dolphin stats. Dolphin D&D wiki. It gives, see, this, for instance, gives them int 6. This version has int 6. Okay, I like that. I like using dolphin as a, well, this one right here says intelligence 9, but that seems way too high. I've got other sources that are saying intelligence 6. Yeah, okay. Let's use intelligence 6 then. Let's do that. Intelligence 6. So that would be -2. Okay. Oh, Neutromancer says cubs and kits. Okay, so we got confirmation there. Okay, excellent. Thank you. PH says horses should be tougher than people. We use them to make vaccines. Yeah, talking about hit points and even, I guess in that case, constitution and things like that. So for a horse, so I want to make sure it's distinct and fox-like. War horses are more likely to be hit than a fox. I would think more AC, less HP. So, okay, so let's check our war horse. What is our war horse AC? So AC armor class 11. Well, so maybe that was by thinking. So maybe you think it should go up to, we got a higher AC here, but we could drop that back down to 13 hit points. Give them 13 armor class, 13 hit points. Good morning, James. Right, but yeah, that see when you're doing the design, you're right in the middle of all of that. Exactly. So that's actually, it might seem to be well, I'll make a note here. Does this need to go back down? Does this need to go back to 13? Let me look up just a 5e fox stat. So I think the reason, so here is 5e fox. See, okay, I think this is the reason I was looking at the 5e fox, because I started this by looking at like charisma. See, the fox strength is 2. Like a fox strength is 2 in D&D, and that makes sense because if you're actually looking at human-sized creatures. But if you're saying that a medium creature is a rabbit, and so the rabbits have ordinarily human strength, it doesn't make sense to say that the fox has 2 strength. It needs to have more like warhorse strength. This gives the fox 16 dex. Okay, so that sounds good. Constitution 11, but okay, 10 is fine. Int, we're making these more intelligent. I like that. Wisdom. So charisma down here, I actually think they should have more charisma then. Of course, a horse is probably gonna have low charisma, but if you have a very charismatic, like, horse, that, you know, like your elven horse. So the war horse has a charisma of 7, -2. But you don't want, so I think that's where I got that. Because you want to send the horse, even if it's an elven horse, you can't send the horse to go and negotiate with the king or something like that. Cuter, more charisma. I need to be able to copy that. Oh, I can't copy that from here. I can copy it from over here, though. There. Thanks. So, yeah. Okay, so that's kind of where I am. But yeah, but it's non-speaking, so maybe that's part of the hurt of its charisma. Although, yeah, it could be like an animal companion. Probably some of the damsels use theirs as like the animal companion. Skills, perception +5, stealth +5. A lot of these end up with animals end up with sort of some similar kinds of stats like keen hearing, because I was looking at what are the 5th edition kind of stats for a bunch of these, and a lot of them have things like keen hearing and dark vision and things like that. So I'm trying not to stray from 5th edition as much as I can, while still trying to make something rather coherent here. So skills, perception +5, stealth +5. I think that makes sense. Dark vision, 60 feet. I must have gotten that from one of the other foxes. This does not say dark vision. No, it does. It does. So in this write-up says perception +3, stealth +5. Let's bring perception down. Let's bring perception down to +3. Stealth +5. Passive perception. So that would be 13. Keen hearing. A fox has advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on hearing. Actions: bite, melee weapon attack, +5 to hit, reach 5, 1 target, hit 6, which is 1d plus 3 piercing damage. James says more articulate could be an aspect of charisma. True. Yes. Oh, Neutromancer says even the eagle has a 7 charisma, and it's the name of a spell that grants charisma. Okay. All right. I think this has something to do with, not being social or all right. So that's what that feels better. All right. So we walk through this. I'm still going to go through it one more time before I send this part to layout. But there we go. So that is, I'm going to remove head and remove that. That is our fox stats. All right, mice. And I would expect a lot of people to want to play mice eventually too. So having them as a playable race later on would be great. Mice. If it's difficult to make your world in the way as a if it's difficult to make your way in the world as a rabbit, it's even more so as a mouse. Mice are small, frail, and often timid, but they are numerous. Mice are commonly found in Rabivania working the fields in exchange for the protection of rabbit knights. Other mice become artisans, merchants, or bards. However, even mice must defend home and hearth when they are threatened. Some mice have taken up arms and live a life of adventure, sometimes accompanying an errant knight on his travels. What they lack in muscle, they make up for with their small size and nimble bodies. There is one chivalric order of knighthood within Rabivania specifically for mice. It is extremely exclusive and prestigious. Long ago, 3 mice warriors took fledgling hawks from their nests, tamed them, and when they had grown, rode the hawks into battle. When they arrived at a critical time on the battlefield, the High King of Rabivania was so impressed by the gallantry and bravery of those mouse warriors that he dubbed them knights. The mice knights are few in number, but fiercely proud of their status. The knights of this order take other mice as squires, but few mice are even willing to accept a squire's belt. This is because the squires of this order must themselves take a fledgling hawk from its nest to break, raise, and train. Many mice are killed while trying to obtain their hawk, or even later while trying to raise them. An adult male mouse is called a buck. An adult female mouse is called a doe. Mice children are called pups. PH says, when you said albino foxes have a special design, it reminded me that the tamed foxes have a different fur color designation, have a fur design. Fur color than the wild ones. That's verified in England by breeders. Oh, that's interesting. Wild fox versus bred fox coloring. I'll have to check that out. I'm expecting that, like the red foxes, that most of the foxes in Rabivania, when you see a rabbit riding a warhorse fox, they look like the red foxes. But I think the albino foxes are going to look pretty cool too. Wisdom seems high on. That's back on foxes. Wisdom 12. Let's see. Why do I have Wisdom 12? Was that Fox 5e Fox stats? Let's see where that came from. So 5e gives Fox just a Wisdom of 12. So that's why I have that. No, this over here says SRD. Over here on the 5e SRD. See, this gives Wisdom 14. This is also the one that. Oh no! This is the int 4. So this gives Wisdom 14. I thought Wisdom being 14 would be high, so I think that's why I bumped it down. You think that's still too high? Charisma would be more neutral if foxes were trying to convince other foxes, I suppose. Yeah. And GURPS handles things like that with modifiers. Dungeons & Dragons, because you can be more attractive or less attractive or more charismatic or less charismatic to different types of people. or other aliens or monsters or whatever it is. Again, when you're designing for 5th edition, you run into issues like that. Good morning, Among the Damned. I like the format better than Critical Role's fancy ones. It convinces me that simple is better. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Maybe that was something that I missed in the comments. Malsh Ritter, yep, Mouse Knight. So because they're a mount, regular Fox, yeah, D&D is humanoid centered. This game would be rabbit centered. So yeah, so we're talking about charisma in relation to rabbits. So it doesn't seem like a non-speaking fox would be charismatic to a mouse. I'll put a flag over here by this one right here too. Think on this one. So I need a mouse field worker. So this is your basic peasant. And let's see. So basic mouse peasant field worker, small creature, armor class 11. So that's +1 dex. So we got +1 dex here. Hit points 4, D6 hit points. Speed 25 feet. Strength -1. Dexterity +1. Constitution would be even. Intelligence would be even. Wisdom, I've got a +1 here, and charisma, I've got 10. (5E) peasant. Commoner. Okay. Armor class 10, hit points. So okay, so it gives the commoner just zeros all the way across. And a club. Hit points 4, D8. Actually, so this gives the commoner hit points 4 and gives it a D8. So maybe this needs to drop down to D3 since it's D6. So that sounds right. If you're killing a bunch of mice peasants, they probably don't have a lot of hit points. Zero the Blade says D&D doesn't use proper stats anyway, so I don't trust what the monster manual says. Andrew says, I guess I would assume some negative impact from the taming process, probably impact wisdom, or does taming not impact them? That is a good question. They're smart. They just don't speak. They kind of know what's going on, and kind of serve as but they kind of also serve as kind of willing mounts. Yeah. Otherwise, orcs would have +0 charisma when talking to other orcs, and bonuses would be relative instead of all orcs thinking orcs are ugly. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yes, well, and some rabbits do too. I haven't gotten into that, but some rabbits, some foxes change color depending on the season, and some rabbits will change their fur too, right? So I have to get into that, but that would be fun. Okay, so we said, so instead of having 10 all the way across the board, I did increase the wisdom of a mouse. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe we should just, so this is based off the commoner. If anything, I think these should then have negatives. Dex makes sense though. Int, wisdom, so the charisma, there we go. Let's just do that. This is the commoner based off the commoner stat, but it's a mouse, so it's not quite as strong, and it's a little bit more dexterous. Perception +3, stealth +3. Senses, dark vision 30 feet, passive perception 13. Languages, I don't have time to get into Rabivanian languages. So we're just using the common designation to pull this over from 5th edition. So language is common. Squeeze, Mice can squeeze into tiny spaces without expending extra movement. Challenge 1/8. Actions pitchfork, melee weapon attack +1 to hit, reach 5, 1 target, hit 1d6 -1 piercing damage. And then I also went sling, ranged weapon attack +3 to hit, range 30, 120, 1 target, hits 2, 1d6 -1 bludgeoning damage. So that would be your basic mouse commoner working in the field. You think a halfling would make a better analog than a commoner. Hey, Kidney Kid. Good to see you. Is this your first time in the chat? If so, hey, here's to you. Let's take a look. What is our common halfling? Let's take a look at that. That's a good point. So let's say if you made the halfling, if you made the mouse more halfling-like. Gnome G. Oh. Where's halfling? Half orc, half elf. Oh, here, halfling. Okay. So halflings, we are told. Okay. Dexterity. So if it were player class, we'd get dexterity score increasing by 2. Okay, so we do have dexterity score increasing by 2. We don't have, we got strength decreasing over here. Size, speed. Base walking speed is 25 feet. So that's the same. Okay, they are lucky. When you get a 1 on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. Halfling, brave. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. That doesn't seem like it works for mouse. Halfling nimbleness. You can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than yours. That seems like something a mouse should be able to do. We've got squeeze. Mouse can squeeze into tiny spaces without expending extra movement. But boy, it does seem like the halfling nimbleness is also something that they should have. I think that's a good idea. Nimbleness. Let me make sure. Let's go OSR over here, or SRD. SRD 5E. I don't know why. Oh. Got it. Okay, so let's just look up nimbleness. Let's look up halfling nimbleness. Or try to, anyway. Halfling nimbleness. Okay, so we do have that. So I'm just going to import that. That's a good call. Thank you. Edit, paste, and match style. Since this is written for NPCs, this needs to be mice. Mice can move through the space of any creature that is of a size larger than it. Commoner should have to roll 3d6 in order and then pick a profession based on that. Good. Excellent. First time to have you live. So I'm glad we got the sip in. Thank you so much for being here. A mouse slingshot. Well, it is only 2. Well, we're scaling to rabbits also in the context of Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, so right here. Hits 2. So it only does 2 points of damage, which is just slightly above punching someone. Unless mice are a weaker race on average, I'd probably just use 10 for everything plus modifiers. A field worker would have higher strength and con than a merchant, but probably just means the merchant has slightly below average physical. So you say, unless mice are a weaker race on average. A weaker race than rabbits on average, right? I think it would kind of make sense for a mouse to have lower strength than a rabbit would on average. I'd probably just use 10 for everything plus modifiers. A field worker would have higher strength and con. I would think mouse's best attack would be a bite. Well, best attack. Well, see, would it be the biting? I mean, they should probably use weapons, so the mouse wouldn't go up and bite. You think in this case, you think we should add in bite? I wonder what mouse bite is. What's something analogous here? Like, what's a halfling bite? Let's see. What about like rat folk? Rat folk in D&D. Rat folk D&D 5e. Do they have a bite? Rat folk. Rat folk 5e species. Rat. How about rat men? Rat men. Okay, here we go. I don't see a bite there. Now, were-rat does. Medium humanoid with a were-rat has a bite. I'm getting this +4 to hit. Does 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage. But the rats are a bit larger than the mice. Not right now. This is just for NPCs. Later, because I'm just doing a small... they would be playable later, but since this is just a world primer, it's intended to be this small. I wasn't able to do all races as playable races. I just focused on rabbits. As the playable races. So down the road, it can be expanded. Mice do have claws. What about raking attack with claws? Okay, so we need to think about bite, mice bite, and also mice claw attack. This were guy over here, bite. No, we don't have. He doesn't actually have a claw attack. Here's somebody's homebrew rat man. Natural claws. Because of your claws, you have a climbing speed of 20 feet. In addition to your claws are natural weapons, which you can use to make unarmed strikes. If you hit with them, you deal slashing damage equal to d4 plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice, instead of the bludgeoning damage normal with an unarmed strike. That sounds pretty good. So that's saying that with the claws, you deal slashing damage equal to 1d4 plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice, instead of the bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike. I like that. Natural claws, or just claws. work with the claws first here. Because an unarmed strike is normally just 1 point of damage. So, but this is 1d4. That gives them pretty nasty claws. 1d4 plus dexterity modifier. Your claws, the rats need to have this as well. Your claws are natural weapons. And allow, which is in a way that the rabbits do not have. No, this needs to be written in the third person here. The mouse claws are natural weapons and allow them to make unarmed strikes that do 1d4 plus strength plus its strength modifier or dexterity modifier, whichever is higher. And this should do what? Slashing damage. Do 1d4 to do 1d4. So this attack does slashing damage rather than bludgeoning as normal for an unarmed strike. If we're doing realistic sizes, a mouse is much tinier than a rabbit, but not here. A rat is much smaller in size, but maybe comparable. But maybe comparable in stats. They're tough. Yeah, I like the halfling kind of comparison to the rabbit. Are there beavers in Rabivania? Can I convince you to add them? If not, there are. I did plan on having beavers in Rabivania. I don't have them in here. Did you know that a beaver's teeth wear unevenly because of the iron contained in the enamel? They have armored teeth. I didn't know that. I kind of wanted beaver engineers, but I haven't gotten to them. That's why their teeth are red. Interesting. They've got iron contained in the enamel. A mouse could be closer to a kobold. Well, that's an interesting call, too. Hang on. Let's look up kobold here. Let me just grab my... actually, I can probably look it up in the SRD. Kobold should be in the SRD, right? So if we used kobold. So kobolds are armor class 12. Of course, this is an armored kobold. Now, actually, maybe the armored kobold right here, I think my 9th that we're about to look at is too strong. Kobold, small humanoid, armor class 12, hit points 5. They're 1/8. Okay, so these things are okay. This is not all that militant a kobold though. Sunlight sensitivity pack tactics. They're doing the kobolds don't have a bite attack. They have dagger though, +4 to hit, 1d4 +2, and they have a sling. Well, they have a sling too. 1d4 +2 bludgeoning damage. So in that case, the mice are kind of kobold-like. That I gave them this guy a pitchfork. There's no reason somebody couldn't have a dagger if the mouse is going adventuring. But for the field mouse, I got the pitchfork. I did not know that about beavers. And that's very interesting. Nope, I don't have anything like that. If something like that happened, it would have to be in the Rabivanian's own legend. Fun fact, beavers were once classified as fish because people wanted to eat red meat on Good Friday. I did not know that. Okay, so claws. I think that is definitely something that needs to be added in. In fact, I'm going to copy that over to the knight as well. Make that kind of a species trait. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else over here on... okay, so we do have halfling traits. If we're looking at halflings, the Lightfoots increased charisma by 1. You can attempt to hide even when you're obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you. That could be nice. Naturally stealthy. You can attempt to hide even when you're obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you. I like that. I like that. That makes them closer to the halfling type. The halfling type. Actions, claws, nimbleness, natural stealth. Mice can attempt to hide. So that would allow a mouse to hide behind a rabbit, which we were saying they seem to be small. So that also goes along with that. Mice can hide easily. Mice can attempt to hide even if their only cover is a creature of a size, a creature at least one size larger than they are. Pun the mouse. And mice are known for hiding, so I like that. Mice can attempt to hide. Okay, so that only leaves me to think about biting. So, but nimbleness. So the knight. This needs to move over here to the mouse knight as well. And I think I might need to pare back the power of the mouse knight, except for the fact that the mouse knight does need to be able to stand on his own, because and also squeeze, because this knight should have been able to endure training a hawk. Claws, mouse bite. So mouse knight. See, this guy is a tough guy. So this represents a rather elite mouse knight. Armor class 18, because he's got a hauberk, he's got a shield, and he's got +4 dex. Oh wait, so he shouldn't be able to put all of his dex on there, should he? His male hauberk is medium armor, so maximum dex of 2. Okay, so that brings him down a little bit. So +2 dex, not all 4 dex. So that brings him down to AC 16. Okay, that's a bit more manageable. There may be hares later, but they're only rabbits right now. I might do something else with mice, with hares later. So mouse knight, small creature. So this represents a rather advanced mouse knight. So this one's got 45 hit points, because what do hit points represent in Dungeons and Dragons anyways? But the knight should have more. I mean, I'm thinking this represents something like a mouse with the knight class that we went over earlier. So strength 12, dex 18, con 12. That's kind of high for an NPC. Let's just bring that down. He's not be able to use it anyway. So let's bring the dex down. So wouldn't that be +3? Con +1. Wisdom +0. Charisma +2. No. Intelligence 0. Wisdom 14. Charisma +0. I think a cute mouse knight should have at least a +1. He takes himself very seriously. Be something like that. Skills: animal handling +4, athletics +3, perception +6, dark vision 30 feet, passive perception of 16. Speaking common. So I'm intending this to be a challenge 2 level knight. Brave. A mouse knight has advantage on saving throws against being frightened. So that comes from being a knight. And now, because then this is a mouse who is supposed to stand up to things. So then we also give the mouse the natural mouse abilities. Multi-attack, because he's a higher level knight. So he gets to make 2 attacks. Let's just say 2 melee attacks. 2 melee attacks. So if he needs to rake with his claws, he can do that. Make 2 melee attacks. And he has an arming sword. And again, this is where, where Dungeons and Dragons is not taking into account like the differences in between a mouse arming sword or a halfling arming sword and a human's. So we're not having to worry about that here either. So the mouse knight would have an arming sword, a spear, and then also we're adding in claws. And if we add in bite to mice, it would be bite as well. He seems like he's got a lot of hit points. But then again, if you're a challenge rating 2 creature worth 450 experience points, and I would expect they're not attacking these guys. So this guy would be an ally or something like that. So this is a pretty beefy mouse knight to have around. Give him a cool personality. Andrew says, mouse knight should have lower stats than rabbit knights except for dex. Maybe mice knights go with lighter armor and faster attacks. They can't match bunnies for strength. So let's see. We said mice are in the context of D&D. So let's see. You said mice should have lower stats than than knights except for dex. Maybe mice knights could go. Yeah, okay. So maybe then we just had. So this is a strong mouse knight, but maybe then this mouse knight just gets plus 10 in strength, or 10 in strength for a +0. So he's mainly dexterous. Okay, he rolled well for Constitution. Intelligence, wisdom. Does he need wisdom? 14. Maybe actually the charisma should be 14. Because he is BBA. And they just bring wisdom down to 1. So down here with arming sword, that would eliminate his +1. That would make this 4 damage, and then 5 damage. Why is the spear? Spear hits on. What is it? The spear hits on 5. There should be like 3 here. That probably makes a bit more sense. So he's doing 1d8 with his arming sword. That makes him less strong. So that way his weapons do a little bit less damage. And I did think about reducing what type of armor he was wearing. He could go down to a mail shirt, make him AC 15. That probably makes sense. What if we did that? Mail shirt. And drop his AC down to 15. Actually, that actually might. No, that's still medium armor. So that way he's not as well armored. He's not, he's, again, this would be his hauberk, but what if he's wearing a short sleeve of mail that covers down to the waist? I think you come up with a good looking mouse that's wearing that, but he's wearing like the gambeson underneath all of that. I'm actually seeing that right now. That would be, and he's also, they are lighter cavalry because they've got to fly. So that probably makes sense. I'm glad I'm talking this out. You guys are great. Yeah, Neutromaster says because of square cube, the weight of full plate would go down faster with size than their strength. Or is that surface area? Yeah, see, the square cube law. And some of that I'm not trying to replicate the math behind Rabivania, absolutely stringently. Because I had a discussion with people about like, okay, how exactly do you get like does a rabbit like get enough fire to smelt metals and things like that? I don't think and how long does a log burn or things like that? Um I think the tone of this world, we don't have to worry about things like that too much, especially especially when we're talking about 5e here. That's kind of wonky anyway. They are really cavalry, so maybe just focus on the hawk, leather armor, lance, maybe a dagger instead of full plate. Well, nobody in Rabivania wears full plate. That like Rabivanian metallurgical technology doesn't allow them to make that. So the heaviest armor that we've got is a full suit of mail. Includes chausses to defend the legs, a full sleeve hauberk with mufflers for the defense of the paws, either a separate or integrated coif, and metal helmet for the top of the head. So characteristically, knights need hauberks. So that's the limit of their military or the height of their military defenses right there. So a rabbit knight starts with a mail hauberk, long sleeve shirt of mail. He can go up to heavy armor. We discussed that. Knights, I think, should wear metal armor. So he needs to be lighter. He's lighter cavalry. I need a good depiction of one of these rabbit knights. I think it would be a point of pride to make sure that hey, if rabbit knights wear metal armor, I think they should too. Wearing your mail is part of being a knight. Leather armor, maybe a dagger instead of full plate and heavy junk. They just do quick joust-like attacks. Now, yeah, they do fly in, and I'm running out of page because I didn't put the hawk in here. This guy is operating on foot at the moment, but they do come in. I mean, they're the air cavalry. They're the light air cavalry. Kidney Kid says, I would think Mouse Knights would be like a dex fighter, right? More archer, dagger, short sword, which would be a mouse arming sword. Well, I don't want them to do archer, because if you're a knight, then you're expected to be part of the cavalry. And that's part of being a knight. So this is a particular, this is a chivalric order of knighthood. So they're not going to be the archers. They're proud of that. So they're the cavalry, but they are kind of lighter cavalry, but they're the air cavalry. So they're very proud of that. But yeah, so if they've got a short sword, now we could do that. Now, let's see, short sword. Where's my short sword stats up here? Short sword. In fact, that probably makes sense to just go ahead and put them with short sword. Short sword does D6 piercing damage, finesse light. There's only so much granularity also that 5e has. But that kind of makes sense. What if we move them to short sword? Mouse Knight instead of arming sword. Why don't we go short sword? That way he's got a sword. Because he's that's one of the things. A sword, a spear. So, but this would move back down to 6. This would be 3. Well, that makes the spear and the short sword very similar. But maybe that's okay. He's got additional reach. He needs the spear for when he's mounted on his hawk. Yeah, Joust. I think it's called Joust. I know exactly what you're talking about. Imagine old video game Joust where they rode ostrich-like creatures to joust one another. You always picture mice as intelligent barbarian monks. Mice knights would be like Ripicheep. I don't know what that is. The Life of Narnia's Ripicheep? Oh. Ripicheep is the leader of the talking mice of Narnia. I don't think I ever got to the talking mice of Narnia. I've seen pictures of him though. using long rapiers, which were basically giant needles. Yeah, I see depictions like that. I don't think a hawk would have trouble lifting a mouse in full plate. Probably not, but there's no full plate anyway. Well, this is the 13th century. This is all based around the 13th century. So we are in the age of mail. I think point of pride, because like I want them. I want when you see the mice, like when you see them, like this particular order of mice knights, that they take themselves extremely seriously. So I think appearing as the Rabivanian knights would be very important to them. But they also think of themselves as being extremely special because they are the air cavalry, and so they're extreme. Like I think of them like, once you've gotten through airborne training. Like these mice, I don't want them. They think of themselves as Rabivanian knights because it's like if you're like a airborne range. Once you go through airborne school in the U.S. Army, how you think of yourself after you come out of airborne. So once you're knighted into this particular once you're knighted into this particular order of chivalry, you really think of yourself as something, and they're probably always they think of themselves as the equivalent of the Rabivanian knights. So some of them would have to have the full armor on. The I'll show you some of the inspiration here. It's like Ivanhoe, 1950s Ivanhoe. Where are some of the knights in here? Ah, yeah. Let me share this screen. So a lot of the imagery, of course, I'm doing 13th century, but also 13th century. But if you take a look at, I want them to be wearing surcoats. Like the knights wear surcoats that are brightly colored. They're brightly colored. This type of imagery here is very inspirational for Rabivania. So the mail coat that he's wearing, the great helm when he's jousting with his surcoat on here. This is very inspirational for what Rabivanian knights look like. So this is the kind of era, yeah, like this kind of helmet and mail. This kind of look, right here. Like this is also very iconic imagery to me. So the Rabivanian knights would be wearing something that's equivalent, kind of like this. So the mice would try to do something equivalent. I love the heraldry, the coats of arms on the horse and on him. So a lot of the rabbit knights, that's going to be a major toy one day. If we get through all of this, as you can see, like the Rabivanian knights. Here's Sir Merrick. So you can see that's why he's wearing a complete. So this is our advanced Rabivanian knight here. So he's got his full hauberk on with chausses on the legs, but then also he's got his brightly colored surcoat on that keeps his coat of arms on it. So there is our heavily armored Rabivanian knight. Let me go back over to the stats here. Mouse, knight, up, stop screen, present. If we consider the mouse decks an average between mice, some slower knights might wear the heavier version. Yeah, that's true. This is just one example, right? That's all these NPCs are. And of course, it's the situation as well within Dungeons and Dragons that, well, if somebody's got a dex of +3 or +4, how much time should we actually spend worrying about it? But this is like an example knight, because yeah, sometimes you certainly have some people have the heavier version who are slower anyway. As knights mounting hawks, do they throw stuff or other stuff on the enemy? Maybe, but they're trying to imitate the rabbit knights on their foxes. So actually going in and jousting would also be something that they do. And but the hawks could, yeah, I thought about that. The hawks come in and drop a stone or something like that. But then I do want to see the mouse, have the mice jousting, because this is also a very intense thing to do, because the mice think that the mice knights, when they're jousting, they joust in air, so we'll knock each other out of the air. And the rabbits are like, okay, we've got to see this. You're going to joust in the air with one another. Yeah, it does. It does seem like that would be kind of hard to do. So they need to come in with a lance or spear. So they the lance or spear couched and then hit somebody and then fly back off again. Because yeah, once you get the hawk, it seems like you're losing a lot of the advantage of your hawk if you get down, if you actually have to have the hawk running around. Maybe that happens occasionally, but it seems like you would fly in, try to hit skewer something with a lance, and then take off again. Like keep coming down. Or direct it, and especially if you lost your lance, like after one strike, because I want the knights also to ride through if they're on their fox back. They ride through and then ride back through when they're taking out a foe, so that the mice could do the same thing, coming in with a lance, but then take out somebody with their lance. But then when your lance is broken, what do you need to do when you need to make another aerial attack? Well, use this hawk with talon strikes. Mouse parachutes need to be a thing. Now, I didn't put them in here, but we got squirrels, and I was seeing this play out in my mind. Also, like the mice, like squirrels, like airborne, like the flying squirrels. There need to be flying squirrels in here that can operate like airborne infantry. That would be hilarious if you have airborne infantry squirrels that are coming in to help out in a battle, and they all like leap off a cliff, and then all of a sudden we have to figure out how that works with all their clothing and stuff like that. But some airborne infantry squirrels just sound fun. Hawks would be devastating in the world of rabbit knights. Even with armor, as much as I like bunnies, hawks are a tough matchup. Yeah, well, I did say in here that a rabbit in the woods, or a rabbit all alone without his armor, is easy prey for a lot of things, including hawks. And yeah, a hawk could even take out a rabbit. So the fact that these mice, and like I said, there might be only like 6 or 8 of these mice knights. There might not be a lot of them. There's just, they live in one particular place and they are extremely intense and hardcore. So they have a lot of respect. Squirrel commandos going commando. Yeah, you got to go commando in order to operate your wings. I think in most fantasy, flying mounts usually are the ones doing the attack for the rider, and it makes sense. What's a tiny lance going to do compared to its claws? Okay, so I still got to think about bite, but I've got that down here. Raccoon. Okay, so here is raccoons. So these are the big bads, the main bad guys for the rabbits. I got some. Raccoon. The raccoons live in a tribal society on the borders of Rabivania. The rabbits regard the raccoons as barbaric and backwards, but nonetheless, the raccoons are one of the main military threats the rabbits face. Much of the raccoons' wealth is accumulated by raiding the lands of others, including Rabivania and even other raccoon tribes. Almost all adult males in a raccoon tribe are outfitted with spear and shield and are expected to serve as warriors when the tribe musters for battle. Receiving one's spear and shield is an important milestone in the life of a raccoon because it marks the point at which the raccoon is no longer a kit, but is now a fully grown boar, taking on the attendant privileges and obligations, especially serving as a warrior when necessary. Better equipped raccoons will add a helmet to their war gear and other miscellaneous pieces of armor they have scavenged from fallen foes. When a tribe assembles its able-bodied boars for war, The vast bulk of their warriors form a horde of irregular tribal infantry. Raccoon Society does, however, have a small body of professional full-time warriors. Each tribal chieftain is served by a number of elite warriors called huskarls. These warriors are much better armed and armored and serve as the chieftain's household guard. They accompany him into battle as his personal bodyguard. Being that they are always in readiness, I think that should be always also. Also, being that they are always in readiness, they're dispatched to handle threats that a small body of capable warriors can handle without having to mobilize the entire tribe. To maintain their loyalty, the chieftain assures that these warriors are well supplied and shares with them much of the loot captured while on campaign. The raccoons also have a strong shamanistic tradition. The shamans are often regarded as bizarre figures, often operating on the edges of raccoon society, but they nevertheless perform critical functions for the tribe, such as coming-of-age rites, ritual purification after battle, and guiding others on spirit quests. Raccoon shamans also advise chieftains and serve as augurs to read portents. Some shamans can come to be the real political authority in a tribe because of their influence over the chieftain. Some warlike raccoons become berserkers, particularly vicious warriors who charge into battle, often unarmored, and are known for their brutality, lack of fear, and disregard for pain. These shamans are instrumental in putting the berserkers into their blood rage. The shamans are instrumental in putting the berserkers into their blood rage before combat by dyeing their fur blue with woad, chanting rhythmically, and then providing them with hallucinogenic potions. Whereas Rabivania's feudal structure allows them to muster large armies, the raccoons are much more politically fragmented. Individual raccoon warlords have but a fraction of such military might under their control. However, a warlord with sufficient strength of will and personality to unify the raccoons would change the balance of power in the land and be a considerable threat to Rabivania. Adult male raccoons are called boars. Adult female raccoons are called sows. Raccoon children are called kits. A group of raccoons is called a gaze, and the term is often used for a tribal subunit. Let's see. Hey, Kronos. Yep, I'm getting close. I'm getting close to the end of this book. I'm getting very close to the end of this whole book, and I'm very excited about it. That's why I wanted to push on today and do this. Oh, Kidney Kid says, doesn't the damage on the short sword go off dex? So is it 1d6 plus dex modifier? I think that's only the. Well, no, wait a minute. Is the short sword? Finesse and light. Oh, so they could use the dex for that. That's what that means, right? Good call. Thank you. So the short sword. What's his dex modifier? Oh, so he can get you with some. We can get you with a short sword. I guess so. That makes a lot of sense for him to be wielding. Probably sized right. Andrew says, I've been frightened by raccoons and I'm human-sized. Some even say larger than normal human-sized. Raccoons are scary. Trash pandas on meth. Yeah, it also modifies hit. Yeah, so I was looking at that. So we got, with the short sword, we got +5 to hit. Why do we have +5 to hit? So this should be, that's because we need to look at, that would be his proficiency bonus, right? And his dexterity. And he's challenge rating 2. So maybe I didn't adjust that. Maybe I didn't adjust this from earlier. So right now he's +5 to hit. Why am I +6 to hit on the spear? So that seems like it should be reversed then. +6 to hit with the short sword because the spear, well, is the spear a finesse? No, just versatile. Okay, so that makes sense to reverse these. So 5, then plus 5 down here. Spear is not finesse. Yeah. Sounds like so. I think that's already being accounted for. Modifies to hit. Yes, 2 professional. Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah, so that sounds right. No, so you think short sword? So you think short sword should be 5 and 4 then? Also, lance is a separate weapon. Maybe they need a lance instead. Well, maybe, but I don't have the hawk here. So right now I've got this guy operating on foot, so he could have a spear. But I'll put that note here. So make this lance. I have to go through this one more time. Spear can be two-handed. Lance is often handed on horse and mount. 5 and 6 is fine. PC start up at 2, up to 6 for the highest levels. So okay, let's go 5 and 6 then. Okay, let's go 5 and 6. No, 6 and 5. So here is our basic raccoon warrior. Medium creature, armor class 14. So at the moment I got a +2 dex, so they just have a shield. Hit points 27. So what was I trying to say with it? This is a challenge rating 1 creature. Hit points 27, 5d8 plus 5. Speed 30 feet, climb 20 feet. So at the moment, let's see what I got. I got strength 14, dex 14, con 12. Maybe being scavengers, they should be higher con. Intelligence, now intelligence 8. Now let's not do that. Let's say we got 10 plus 0. Wisdom 10, charisma -1. They need to be strong. Maybe they just need to be Dex 12. This is our basic raccoon warrior, the basic kind of guy for a raccoon warrior. I think having them go up in con, things like they're eating the trash and the scavengers, that needs to happen, I think. Neutral Master says, okay, I'm sorry, I'm mixing my numbers. Start with proficiency of 2 or 3, then add the ability bonus. +3 for the sword, +0 for the lance. That means 5 or 6 for the sword and +2 to 3 for the shield. Oh, for the spear. Mouse Knight. Let's go higher. Start proficiency at... Let's go 6 and 3 then. 6 and 3. Andrew says, I would give them very low wisdom to reflect their wild nature. They're impulsive. Otherwise, their size advantage would create too much of an advantage. That's a good point. So we go wisdom, charisma, low, wisdom here. So wisdom 8. -1. What is oh, you don't have a wisdom penalty for being a barbarian. Well, in 5e, you don't have many penalties at all. Now orcs were short on intelligence and not wisdom, but perhaps making it lower on wisdom here makes sense. Skills, athletics, perception, survival. we're going to have to go back and look at Raccoon tomorrow. So World Building Wednesday tomorrow. We'll start with Raccoon. We've got Raccoon, Rat, Snake, Squirrel, and Weasel to go. Okay, but here's what I had. So I said the warrior, so a Raccoon kind of racial traits here, or species traits. Hardy, a warrior has advantage on all saving throws related to Constitution. Okay, so he has advantage on Constitution. So it gives him +2 plus Constitution. So they're pretty hardy. The warrior has advantage on all wisdom checks related to their sense of smell. And then I was giving a spear. Why does the warrior have reckless attack? I don't think that needs to be there. Oh, I think I must have given all. I think that was just a characteristic of raccoons. So I was thinking about giving this reckless attack. So actions, reckless attack. The warrior can choose to attack recklessly, gaining advantage on melee weapon attacks using strength. But attack rolls against it have advantage until the start of its next turn. Now, I've got a specific berserker as well. So that would be why, because I was looking at this last time going, why exactly does the berserker have reckless attack as well as rage? It looks like it's because I was making reckless attack something that all the raccoons had. Maybe I need to drop that here, because this is basic raccoon warrior. And that way, things like the berserker and the huskarl are a bit more differentiated. What's a good analog race for what's a good analog race? It could be like half orc. Let's see what's going on with half orc. Half orc. We've got speed. Do these guys have a? Okay, they do have a climb. Okay, so dark vision, menacing. Well, okay, they gain. Okay, should the standard warriors gain proficiency in the intimidation skill? Maybe not, but that's an interesting one. Relentless endurance. When you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, you can drop to 1 hit point instead. You can't use this feature until you again finish a long rest. Oh, that might be good for the berserkers. Savage attacks. When you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you can roll one of the weapon's damage dice one additional time and add it to the extra and add the extra damage to the critical hit. That might be a good thing to add to them. Let me make note of that. Note. Consider half orc as a species analog. Endurance is not really a thing for NPCs. That's a good point. Climbing. Wait, do we have climbing skill? They've got climbing speed. So climbing in 5th edition, if I remember correctly, there's not a whole lot of rules for these things anyway. If you've got climbing speed, then you basically can just climb. With a spear and shield, will they operate in a phalanx? The untrained people of Greece defended lands and militia used a phalanx because it was simple and deadly. Maybe. I hadn't really thought of them as Greek phalanx guys. I was thinking of them more like the Germanic tribes' shield wall. So probably it's probably more of a shield wall than a phalanx. I'm thinking of them as like the Germanic tribes above Rome, shield wall, one-handed spears over the top. So not like phalanx version, but shield wall locked, one-handed spears up over the spears downward. Yeah, you can always climb. Having climbing speed means your speed isn't halved. All right. Well, this was great. I'm going to keep going on this because I want to get this book edited so that I can get it to going to layout and also seeing what type of art assets need to be made here. I really appreciate your hanging out with me. So tomorrow will be World Building Wednesday, so we'll continue with this book and maybe even get all these stats finished. I will think about all these things. I'm starting at the top and I'm editing down. Exactly. Banging their shields with weapons and screeching and baring teeth. That's the way I'm thinking about the raccoons. Exactly. All right. I enjoyed it. Oh, by the way, tonight we've got, I need to make the thumbnail for this, but tonight we are talking about The Dark Knight. So Doug and Brianna will be back. So Doug and Brianna will be back tonight. We'll be talking about The Dark Knight. I need to watch that this afternoon. Need to make time for that. Maybe do some painting or something if I can get a bunch more writing done and take notes on The Dark Knight because there's going to be a lot to say about it. So I hope to see everybody. That'll be at 7 o'clock Central tonight. So 7 o'clock Central. I hope to see everybody for analysis of The Dark Knight. Thank you so much, everybody. And I really appreciate your help. I will see you tonight at 7, and then I'll see you for the morning grind tomorrow for World Building Wednesday.